revealed. For the breakdown, let's ignite. Black and gold, we're taking flight. Every story, every fight. For the breakdown, every night.
What's going on, Boiler Nation? Happy New Year. It's January 1st, 2025. Feels weird to say that, but we got to get used to it as we're in the new year. And we are back from a little hiatus, a little holiday break that we took. So the Boiler Breakdown is live on the air on the Boiler Breakdown Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Twitch channel. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, do all that cool stuff the kids say if you haven't already. And if you're listening on your favorite audio podcast platform, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, I don't know, we're on a bunch. Make sure you're following or subscribed on there as well. I'm Tanner Lee, co-host, Evan Webb in the house. Webby, how we doing? How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Just finally getting over some sickness I had there for like 2 weeks. But yeah, Christmas was good. I think we did 4 Christmases in 2 days. I think is what we did with between me and the wife. It's good. New Year's was very relaxed and chill. We just kind of hung out at home, watched some movies, watched a little football yesterday, and kind of rung in the new year very anticlimactically. And at midnight, we watched the ball drop. I'm like, all right, watch TV and fell asleep on the couch.
Yep. We finished our 4th family Christmas last night.
Oh, dang.
So yeah. So from Christmas Eve through last night, we had 4 of them, but it was all good. Always good to spend time with family. And then when we got back last night, we kind of did what you guys did, watched the ball drop, and then crashed after that. So
getting good Purdue gear for Christmas.
I'm trying to think. Did I got some Purdue slippers?
Nice.
Did I get anything? I got a Purdue throw blanket to take with us during the cold games in Ross-Ade next or this November, I should say.
Yeah.
I can't think. I know I got my wife some stuff from the shop, but I don't think I got any new apparel, so to speak. So.
Yeah, this was I got one piece of apparel from the shop, and then I bought the shirt I'm wearing now, which from the shop when I was buying my wife and sister some gifts. Kind of threw it in for myself. But this was definitely the least amount of. I literally got one thing for Christmas that was Purdue related, which is probably the least amount I've ever gotten, which was kind of by design. Me and the wife were intentional about what we put on our list from our family about like things we maybe actually need around the house.
Yeah, sure. Doug and Angie Lotta here on YouTube. Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks for joining us today for a rare afternoon live cast, I should say. But we're not working. Most of the world's not working today, so and like it feels like we haven't done a pod in forever since then. But since then, Purdue basketball's only played 2 games.
Yeah, not a whole lot to cover.
We got waxed by Auburn, who's ranked number 2, but I still think they're the best team in the country. And then had a get right game Sunday against Toledo, even though at times it was sloppy. But career night for Braden Smith, at least in the points category.
Yeah, it was good to be back in Mackey. I was able to go first home game for Purdue in 21 days.
Crazy. They needed it so bad.
Yeah, needed a get right game. And that's a pretty solid team. I mean, Toledo's won their conference like 4 years in a row, something crazy like that. So, really well coached team. And yeah, like I said, it was kind of got a little sloppy for a while. Trey getting 2 fouls early in the first half didn't help. But I thought, like, honestly, yeah, like Caleb First is kind of the reason why Purdue was able to kind of, when it got a little tight, he was able to, he was part of the group that kind of put a stop to it and was able to extend the lead. So it was nice to see him have a good game out there.
Yeah, I think he's turning into Purdue's best rebounder. And that's an area that Purdue's been struggling. Honestly, I don't think it's going to get much better. It's kind of hard to become a better rebounding team as the season's going on. It's either something you're good at or you're not. Interior defense is kind of raising its ugly head a little bit too. Like I know you mentioned a lot of times when you're there live, it looks like they're not communicating very well. Other than that, a few concerns I have, but this is everybody, and maybe it shouldn't be as much a concern for me as it is who's going to step up besides the big three, besides Braden, Fletcher, TKR, because I know Greg Bowers of Boilers in the Stands did a really good. He did a spreadsheet of, I don't remember, the past so many years in the percentages of the big three scoring compared to the rest. And the 3 years that jump out were the 2 years that we didn't make the NCAA tournament while we were in school. And then I don't even remember the other year. Oh, the year we wouldn't have, that got canceled. The tournament got canceled by COVID. So everybody like myself that's worried about that, it's not really that unusual when you look back. But it's just, I guess, we were spoiled the last few years, even though we were still getting most of our points from Fletcher and Braden and Edie. It just seemed like other guys were contributing more, maybe hitting threes, like Mason Gillis, Lance Jones having moments. We just really haven't had anybody else step up consistently.
Yeah, I think part of that is just because of the gravity that Edie had. So when the ball went in, a lot of times teams were sending 2-3 guys. So somebody had to be open. So that was whether it was a Gillis, Lance Jones, somebody, maybe not of the normal big three, were able to get open and hit some shots. But yeah, it's definitely I think the other concern, especially what we saw, against like Auburn, like if someone can stop Braden or make Braden really uncomfortable, we're going to need somebody else to, if he's not hitting or somebody, whoever it is, we're going to need somebody else to step up. But it's a long season still, I think. Now that it's kind of getting the Big Ten. But I think also, too, part of I don't think we're going to play anybody in the Big Ten that's as good as Auburn or, probably Texas A&M would be a top tier Big Ten team. I think there's a couple Big Ten teams that I think can play similar to that, but I don't think a lot of teams are going to be able to do that. That play that style consistently. Obviously, they're going to try and pressure Purdue, but is it part of their everyday identity is another thing, which I think honestly maybe a team that's coming into Mackey next week or on Sunday, Northwestern, they can do it, but do they have the horses like an Auburn does is the question.
No, I would say they don't. But and yeah, it was, going into that Auburn game, I didn't expect Purdue to win. But I was still disappointed with some of the effort at times and just the point margin that the loss was. I know it ended up being
22, but that was a 30-point blowout.
It was a 30, 35-point loss easily.
Yeah.
They kept their guys in. But like you said, it's in the past. I think when we were talking in the preseason before the season started, we were expecting like a 10-3 record in the non-conference, so we weren't too far off. I think the one loss we had that I didn't have chalked up as a loss was Penn State. But honestly, I didn't have Alabama chalked up as a win. And we got that as a win, so they kind of canceled each other out there. But Marquette didn't shock me. Auburn didn't shock me. I think I had A&M as a win. But
I think I would have had a one loss between Alabama or Marquette, one of the two. I think I had Auburn as a loss, and then toss up between out in San Diego or Texas A&M. I thought we might lose one in San Diego and beat Texas A&M because I thought it was going to be in Indy. But yeah, it's kind of right where we kind of thought they were. I said aside from losing at Penn State, I think a lot of teams are going to lose at Penn State this year. That's a pretty good team. Not sure if I like or don't like the fact that we don't see him at Mackey, but same way with, also on the flip side, we don't have to see Maryland at Maryland. Good. So take it.
Right. John Hawks here on YouTube. Are we going to go after a 5 in the portal next year or look for a high school player? And what about a point guard?
Good question. One I'm not really thinking about right now because it's January 1st. See how it plays out. I you don't want to speculate, but if any players do transfer, I could see Painter looking for a 5. Jacobson getting hurt kind of throws a wrench in a lot of plans because we don't know where he'd be. Obviously Berg's been has been a disappointment in terms of
now he's injured.
Now he's injured. Yeah, not like we were expecting him to be Zach Edey by any means, but just kind of when he's in not as reliable on offense as maybe we were hoping he'd be.
He's went from starter to not playing any minutes in some games.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think that's probably one position you look for. Definitely not a point guard. We're definitely not getting a point guard. It's because that's Braden's spot. Barring him going pro, which I don't think he would, or God forbid a transfer. Now you might look for another guy to take, another ball handler. I wouldn't say necessarily point guard, but like something like a Lance Jones or somebody that can help him out when things get a little dicey. Because right now, Fletcher's not a guy who can really create his own. I mean, he can create his own shot, but he's not a ball handler. Colvin hasn't shown he's a great ball handler in those situations. CJ and Jakari are freshmen. I mean, who knows if those guys get better by the end of the year? Maybe we don't even need one. But I think, if you were to, ask me if Prudue's going to report, I'd say, I think a 5 and another ball handler of some sort, or someone who can create a shot would be big.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends on who stays, who goes, if anybody in the portal. And, of course, scholarship numbers are going to be changing. That's something to take into, that'll probably take into effect, and we'll see how that plays out. But, it's a lot of guessing right now on January 1st, but it wouldn't shock me if the roster looks – I don't think the roster will look as similar going into next year as it did this year after last year. Let me put it that way. I wouldn't be shocked if there's some guys even playing right now for Purdue that aren't on Purdue's team next year. I could be way wrong. That's just what my gut's telling me right now. Thad Mooney on Facebook, spreadsheet went back to the baby Boilers, kind of eye-opening to the extent of don't panic and let the younger guys find their piece of the pie. Let the freshmen get the experience to find that consistency off the bench or in the starting 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it was, garbage minutes, but I feel like you got to take something away of, the way that Jakari and CJ played at the end of that Auburn game. They looked more confident, which at that point, getting a freshman confidence, you take it anywhere you can get it. So they look pretty good. They look better against Toledo. I think, just going to be they're going to take their lumps, and they've had a lot of really good experience so far. So hopefully that pays dividends, come February, March of the season, and a ton from those guys, but just play good defense and take care of the ball, and then hit open shots when you get them. Yeah,
and then the two guys who have to get going for Purdue are Miles Colvin, Camden Heide. I mean, Colvin, we know what he can do. He proved out in San Diego against Ole Miss, but since then he's kind of disappeared, and so is Cam Heide. I mean, he's had spurts here and there, but nothing consistent, and especially on the glass. These are the two most athletic guys on the team. They can jump better than anybody on the team. We really need their effort and help on the glass, and I feel like just not getting that as of late.
Yeah, I mean, I look up the final numbers, but there was a point on Sunday where Toledo was out rebounding Purdue by quite a bit, and it wasn't just because Purdue was, or Toledo was making a bunch of shots and Purdue was missing a bunch of shots. It was like they were getting offensive rebounds. It ended up being Toledo had 40, Purdue had 33, so not as bad as it was, but between Cam and Colvin, they had one rebound between the two, and that's just it can't happen. And
they got to hit open shots, both of them.
I mean, both they were 0 for 5 from 3 combined. And I'd like to maybe see too is them try and create off the dribble. I mean, like I said, they're both super athletic, so if we can, they can create some shots or something. It's versus just catch and shoot all the time, because it's maybe not always be. We've seen, I know we've at least seen Cam. He's had the pump fake and drive and can get up there, but it's just hopefully, I don't know if it was just maybe just the first game back after a week, kind of the New Year's malaise that comes with some of these games. You see a lot of teams usually schedule the cupcakes for these types of games. So hopefully now Big Ten season's coming. They maybe it gets going on Thursday or tomorrow. Given he's going back home up to Minnesota, so you never know.
Yeah, you got to think that'll get the juices flowing. I don't think we'll see a starting lineup change tomorrow. But say even if Purdue gets 2 wins this week against Minnesota and Northwestern, or God forbid they split, or even God forbid they go 0-2, then I definitely think you'll see some lineup changes. But it wouldn't shock me even if they go 2-0 and some of the players that are starting struggle, like Miles or Cam. It wouldn't shock me to see, especially if he continues playing well on the glass and rebounding. It wouldn't shock me to see Caleb first slip in the 5, TKR in a 4, and then you probably take Cam or Miles, one of those two, out of the starting.
Probably take Cam out in that one just because Miles is more of a 3. But I also wouldn't be surprised if CJ or somebody, Jakari, they have some good games. They could take that 3 spot.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Painter's usually not one to change things when it's working, but you never know if these guys are struggling the way they have been. You never know.
And another thing I noticed on Sunday, and this is just outsider sitting on the couch, armchair quarterback, so to speak, perspective. And then luckily he bailed him out a lot of times, but I don't like when like the first play or the first action breaks down, and a lot of times it's on Braden's shoulders.
Yeah.
Make something happen or, to create a shot. It's just different than we've been used to, the past 3 years or the 4 years when you had the big old 7-foot 2-time national player of the year to pump it down to and bail you out. But it's just so stressful. Like a lot of times it looks like guys are just standing around and Braden's got to create off the dribble or he's got to jack up a 3 that wasn't really planned. I mean, I still think Matt's one of the best, if not the best, offensive coaches in America, just with all the motion and sets he runs and all the plays. It's amazing. I'm just noticing more and more, like when I'm trying to watch when the play breaks down, it seems like then it's just kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
And it's like Braden, it's on you, which he's one of the best players in America. Don't get me wrong. But it's like just somebody else step up once in a while, take it off.
Yeah.
I mean, like Fletcher, and I'm starting to notice this with him. Like he does his scoring in abundance of like 5 to 7 minute stretches.
Oh yeah,
like, where it's awesome. He's on a tear, but then after that, he kind of like I don't want to say disappears, but it's just not as much of a factor.
Yeah,
but that stretch when he's on, and it's awesome to watch. I just wish we got a little more consistency out of him as well.
Yeah, and what they like to see, especially, I mean, we didn't have Burks, like we don't have any like big lumbering guys, but I like to see this team get out and run more.
Yes, I thought we would.
We kind of saw it for a stretch there. Like one was Fletcher's 3. It was a kind of a run and gun, and threw it out to him like right away, and he nailed a 3. I'd like to see more of that. We'll see, because I think that's something that this team can really take advantage of with not having a huge guy, to weigh you down. But we'll see. I mean, you have to obviously create those opportunities, but I'd love to see more, if it's a long rebound or whatever, just get out and go because they have the horses to do it.
Right. No, absolutely. But Big Ten play starts tomorrow. Like you just mentioned, Purdue is at Minnesota. That's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I don't remember what channel it's on.
I think it's Big Ten Network.
Network. And then Sunday's game.
No, Fox Sports 1.
One of the two. It's always a good guess. And then Purdue returns home Sunday at Mackey against Northwestern at 2:00. But looking at the January schedule, and we'll talk about Minnesota Northwestern in a minute, but you got at Minnesota Northwestern home, at Rutgers next Thursday. That's a 6 p.m. start. You got Nebraska home next Sunday. That's a nooner. Then they got the West Coast swing at Washington. That is not correct. It says 12:30 a.m. I think it's a 9:30.
Nope. It's a 9:30, yeah.
9:30 start on the 16th.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just online here. And then at Oregon on the 18th, which is a 3:00 start. And that's an NBC game, not Peacock. That's actually NBC. Then you got the Buckeyes at home on the 21st, Michigan at home the 24th, Indiana at home on the 31st. So you end January with 3 big-time home games. Let's see here. What record would you be happy with coming out of January, assuming Purdue doesn't go on?
Right. 1, 2, 3.
I think there's 9 games.
Yeah,
9 games. Would you take 6-3, or are you looking for better than that?
I would take it. I really want 7-2.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I think that's for Purdue to position itself for a Big Ten title. Because that means you're coming out of January with 4 losses already in conference, which I think we're not going to see. At least I don't think we're going to see what we saw in 2017, where Ohio State wins like with a 15-3 record or whatever, 15-2 record or whatever that was, when Purdue had a chance at a potential 3-peat or whatever when they just boxed out.
Boxed out capes.
Yeah. Because I was looking at kind of I meant to bring this up. Well, I guess we haven't done a pod in a while, but I was looking at after the Auburn game of like, hey, you had Toledo, you had at Minnesota, Northwestern at home, at Rutgers, Nebraska, at Washington, and at Oregon. I felt like Oregon was the next like real like big boy test, just because of obviously their top 10 and the style they play, and I was like, I think I'd like to see Purdue get to that point with just one loss in that stretch. I think that loss being at Rutgers, which I mean, they're 8-5 right now. But it's at Rutgers. They're they defend really when they've got two legit superstars. Just a matter of does anyone else step up? I mean, I think they're really feeling that of like, can anybody else step up on that team because they've got 2 top 5 picks in the NBA, but then a whole lot of just nothing right now.
No doubt. Yep.
But yeah, I think I would take 6-3. I'd be okay with as long as you're not dropping like a couple home games. If it's the at Rutgers, at Oregon. Maybe Michigan worries me just because of they've got legit size and it's a lot of skilled size. They've got that 7-footer who's basically a point guard out there, which could cause a lot of issues.
That's a Friday night 8:00 game, so Mackey should be jumping for that.
Yeah,
one.
Mackey should be jumping in that one. So yeah, it'll be. Actually, let's see. Does Michigan play at a place like Purdue? Kind of. No, so that'll be like the real. I mean, I don't know. Have they played a road game like that? I guess they played at Wisconsin.
And I would say there's only about 9 other places like Mackey in America because I think Mackey's top 10.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So top 5 in my opinion.
Yeah. If you count Wisconsin, that's probably their toughest road test. But I feel like Purdue has a much bigger advantage compared to the Kohl Center.
Well, and I'm guessing the students won't be back at Purdue for a game until the 21st against Ohio State. I know they won't be back against Northwestern, and I'm assuming they won't be back against Nebraska on the 12th because I'm assuming classes start the next day.
That's unless they
just usually not in their package.
Yeah, unless they said, hey, since your classes start tomorrow, you can get it. But I would think they wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? I guess we'll find out.
Because I remember when I was looking at tickets early in the preseason when they went on sale, Northwestern and Nebraska were 2 games that were available just because they're break games. Just like
I wonder if maybe
it's like Rutgers on March 4th.
Yeah, I wonder if in the past, or I think in the past they've done things where like the lower bowl is students and the upper bowl is general or our everyday civilians. But I don't know if they'll do that.
Alumni,
yeah.
So, but it's hard to believe that conference plays here already.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the season just started, but hey, we're already in the new year and into January, so it goes by fast. But really, nobody's breaking out of the pack in the Big Ten. I mean, Oregon is ranked 9th,
but they're 1-1 in conference.
1-1 in conference. UCLA is ranked 15th.
They're 2-0. They've had
Michigan State 18th. They worry me a little bit. They're starting.
I think they're more of a surprise. I guess I didn't expect them to be. This could mean they've got a tough one on Friday at Ohio State. Actually, they have Michigan State, looking at their January, they play at Ohio State, home against Washington, at Northwestern, home against Penn State, home against Illinois, at Rutgers, home against Minnesota. So that could be a pretty good stretch for them too. Yeah, because I think like looking at Purdue's schedule, I think like they have to do really well in January because again they're kind of they're ending.
Oh, February and March is a gauntlet.
Yeah, they end. February you've got. This is not right. What is going on here?
I got it up here if you want me to. End of February, 18th, you go to Michigan State. 23rd, you go to Indiana. 28th of February, you host UCLA. The March 4th, you host Rutgers. Then March 7th, you go to Illinois. So
then you go to Michigan on the 11th.
Yeah.
Host Wisconsin on your birthday.
Yeah, 15th. That's a 1:00. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
USC on the 7th, which I would rather host USC than host Washington.
I agree.
So, it's gonna be a gauntlet. It's gonna be interesting. I still like Purdue's chances to be in the mix for the Big Ten, but like you said, I think they got to get out of January with a 7-2 or better record.
Yeah,
be right there.
I do wonder with like these West Coast teams with having to travel far.
They'll struggle on the road.
Just from a environment standpoint. I'm trying to think of like legit college basketball environments in the Pac-12, what they were used to. I mean, Arizona's probably your best one.
Arizona, yeah.
I mean, UCLA can be, but I mean, from everything I hear, like people just don't go to those games. I mean, it's in LA. Like, there's so many other things you can do in LA.
Yep.
Oregon, maybe, but they haven't been really good lately. So,
right.
So yeah,
I think. Well, they're not in the Pac-12 anymore. I was going to say when Stanford was good, they usually have a pretty good home environment, but they haven't been good in a while. Now
right.
they're
So
an
they just,
ACC, so it doesn't matter.
yeah.
So.
So I think they'll have like when they travel to Mackey and Assembly, State Farm, Breslin. It's going to be a rude awakening for some of these teams.
Sure. So, and I know this is off topic, but you get experience. You get a experience your first experience. I was going to say I don't know how I'm trying to word this. You get to go to Assembly Hall for the first time.
I do
tomorrow night with your wife and your sister-in-law.
Yep, get to watch the Hoosiers host the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Yeah, my wife's sister is a senior in high school and got accepted to IU, and it's more than likely she's meaning all but guaranteed she's going there. So for Christmas we got her tickets to a game, and yeah, so I get to enjoy the confines of Assembly Hall.
I mean, as a basketball junkie, I think you got to get there at least once.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I told her, my wife, I'd rather go to this game than the Purdue game any day. I'll wear I'll wear a discreet shirt, probably just wear a black sweatshirt and just sit there and not cheer any other way. Just watch the game and
get some concession stands and
keep tabs of the Purdue game on my phone the whole time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if we're a basketball junkie like yourself, you got to get there at least once.
Yeah,
I've
only been
three times.
I've only been to Notre Dame's arena, and that was for an NIT game back in like 2002.
Yeah, so. I think it was 02 when we played them, 02 or 03. So. I think it was 02. So yeah, and that's changed a little bit. I might be going to a Notre Dame game in February. My company bought a bunch of tickets for the Notre Dame SMU game in February. It might be going to that. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. So, but I'd be like you. I'll be just neutral basketball fan that night. But what I'm hearing in your voice is there's no panic out of you yet.
No, not yet. No.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
Me neither.
I think going back to the teams we've lost, which I get, like the only thing that's I guess concerning is just like when we've lost, it's been by a lot on all these losses. But I guess the one I'm like more disappointed is the Penn State one, just because that was a conference opponent sort of thing. But the SEC is absolutely legit this year.
Oh,
it's wild. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Tennessee fan, and he said after their win the other night, the teams they play have their next however many games have a combined record of actually I can go find it. Granted, a lot of those teams haven't played a ton of people. What did he say? He said their next 8 opponents have a combined record of 94-10. Good Lord.
It's like Purdue football.
Yeah, but not panicking yet. I think Purdue's a really good team. I think those are more matchup based, which you're obviously going to have at some points, and you'll see in the tournament. But I'm not panicking yet. I think this is a really good team. I think just had a couple bumps in the road early. I mean, this is definitely a schedule that you'd probably more likely see of last year's team. Even though last year's schedule was also a gauntlet, but
last couple of years,
but Painter obviously, wants to test his team. I think it'll be hopefully they took things from it and they can learn from it. It was just a little disheartening to see some of the fans' reaction to some of these losses and all that. But
was disheartening, but wasn't too surprising. I don't think. It's the age we live in, and think about next year's schedule. Not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but we already know next year's basketball schedule is going to have Auburn and Indy. Have a return trip to Tuscaloosa, Marquette at home. I'm like, that's pretty good right there. And we'll have some sort of non-conference tourney. I'm like, all right, maybe we're good with that. And then just all mid majors and under. Like, come on, Matt, maybe pump the brakes a little bit. We'll schedule 1 or 2 more other big boys. So
it'll be. It's I had to think about how we knew already at least three big boys next year. At least Auburn's gonna be completely different. I mean, they got 10 seniors, so who knows? But they'll bring in a whole.
Hey, you never know. Maybe they have a different coach. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Pearl's long term goals are there. Yeah, plan. I don't know. Patrick Kennedy here on YouTube. Jeff Brom was eating Frosted Flakes after the bowl win yesterday. Frosted Flakes bowl. It's appropriate. Man, they got lucky to win that.
I wasn't watching that game.
Washington, Louisville was up 14 midway through the 4th, if not pretty late. And it was on the background at my family Christmas, and I happened to look up. Washington scores with 7 seconds left. And Jed Fish went for 2, and they didn't get it. They lost by
Gotcha.
1. Loved it though. It's a bowl game. Let's go
It's
for
a point.
2.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
like
the
that.
Louisville defensive back made a good play on the ball. So Louisville
Yeah.
was victorious. So Brom and Louisville won 9 games this year overall. So
Question: would you rather get a cooler full of Frosted Flakes dumped on you or Cheez-Its?
cooler full. I like them both.
Yeah.
Man. Probably Cheez-Its, but
I'm
I like
taking
them both.
Cheez-Its all day.
I like
Yeah.
them both. So
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something about mayo. I'm like, anything but
God,
mayo.
no.
I know. I'll be throwing up.
Yeah. Honestly,
Yeah.
both like I want Purdue in the Pop-Tarts Bowl so
Oh,
badly.
they do such a great job.
They do such a great.
mean,
I mean, for like,
it's fun.
I mean, given the circumstance around it, like how like it's meaningless, like
yeah.
players are opting out, like that's what these bowls need to do is like just do ridiculous crap like that. Just like
Yep.
make it entertaining, like
Yep.
you know. But that like the stuff that they do has been awesome.
Yeah, it
So I'm
has
hoping
been.
other
Even
bowls-
resurrecting the one that got
right
ate
that
last
was
year.
hilarious. And then like the MVP whatever gets to choose whatever Pop Tart gets executed, which is awesome. Like that's the kind of stuff that
Yeah,
makes
that's
this
fun.
kind of stuff fun.
Yeah.
And that hopefully other bowls take note of that because
Yeah.
that's like I was like that's all my feed was the other day, and I was eating it up.
Yeah, it
like,
was great.
Pun intended. I thought it was great.
Well,
So,
and
yeah,
I will
hopefully-
say there's been some bowls that haven't had a lot of opt-outs. And
No.
even ones that have, it's been pretty competitive across the board this
Yeah.
year. I mean, for a long time, I'm like, I don't care about these non-playoff bowls. But then I start watching one, I'm like, this game's pretty good.
Yeah, I was watching
So-
most of that Michigan game yesterday, which I know there were some opt-outs on Alabama side,
yeah.
but still, I mean, you had Milrow,
Right.
like the freshman wide receiver out there, like it was legit.
Yeah.
I was watching most of that Illinois game as well. Like that was an entertaining game.
Illinois won 10 games. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I can't believe that's their first SEC a win ever.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
wild.
That's
Yeah.
crazy in the history of Illinois football. But I can't stand them. But also like when they're good, it makes because Purdue usually plays them pretty tough. I mean, heck, we played them tough this year with
Right.
historically, arguably our worst team ever. And we played in 2013 when we lost to them. We played them tough with our other worst team ever. So, I mean, so if they're good at football, it gives Purdue a chance for a good win. But yeah, it's been interesting. And like Colorado, Shadir and Travis Hunter both played, and they got smacked by a conference opponent, BYU.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
but they were allowed to play since they didn't play in the season. It's really weird.
I saw a tweet or whatever afterwards. It was like about the whole thing with like Travis Hunter winning the Heisman versus kid from BYU, but it was like showing all the statistics, but it was all like no ranked wins, no wins over like a conference opponent over 500. It was pretty entertaining. Just a lot of snaps played.
Oh yeah. But and I was laughing. I listened to a lot of Colorado sports radio because I'm a big Denver Broncos fan. And the other night after the bowl game, they're doing a call-in show, and it was part of a podcast I was listening to. It was a call-in show for the Broncos and the Colorado because they both played Saturday. And there was callers for Colorado like, yeah, even though we're losing Shadir and Travis, I think we're going to be better next year. I'm like, how? I don't see it. I think you'll be okay, but I don't see it.
I mean, they had like a freshman 5-star QB coming in.
Yeah.
So they don't take another.
They got it. They did from Liberty. They took the kid from Liberty. That'll probably start over him.
That's right.
So, which is a good get. But it's like, you lost 2 guys who are going to go in top 5 in the NFL draft. Like you're going to take a step back. So
yeah,
I don't know. But
which, given the history of Colorado, is fine.
yeah. I mean, they were a dumpster fire a couple of years ago, and it takes one to know one. We've been there. We could be there right now. We don't know. Well, let's look at the history. Going back to basketball, let's look at the history of Purdue and Minnesota.
Not my favorite.
This is from, but this is only from 99 through 04 for whatever reason. They don't have more on here on PurdueSports.com. So since February 23rd, 1999, Purdue is 28-17 against the Golden Gophers. That's 18-3 at Mackey, 9-11 up at the barn. Last year's matchup was a come from behind win to Mackey on my birthday and on your wife's birthday. Purdue was down 43-35 at half, but won 84-76. And then before that, Purdue's on a 4-game win streak. They've won their last 2 up in the barn. Their last loss up there was 2020, 2021 in a 3-point loss. Before that, you have to go back to the Big Ten tournament in 2018-2019, a 2-point loss. Then Carson Edwards, Ryan Klein, and the boys got hot, got to the Elite Eight. But yeah, I think it's not a favorite place for Purdue fans just because of what happened in 2010 there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it hurts my eyes to watch a game on TV there.
Yeah.
The lighting.
Yeah. Since they changed their court, it's so bright.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it usually should be a pretty, I assume, maybe a pretty dead environment. They've had their struggles.
And no students. Yep.
No students.
They're probably the worst team in the Big Ten. Probably.
Yeah, I would say. Which I like Ben Johnson. He's a former player there, so it always kind of sucks when a player like that. It seems like a really good guy. Just trying to do things. Well, I think he was on Pitino's staff, and they kept him after they fired him, which is you don't see that every day. But yeah, they just struggling. That's for sure. But it's still a road game. Yeah, I mean, this team hasn't won a road game yet, so
you got to take care of ball. Got to hit your free throws. Little things on the road add up big time. Sunday we host Northwestern. Since 1999, we're 28-14 against Northwestern, 16-4 at Mackey, 11-10 on the road. So we do have a winning record up there at Welsh Ryan. Last year's matchups were insane. Both overtime games. Purdue won at Mackey 105-96, lost up there 92-88, excuse me.
Was last year's Mackey game when Collins got tossed at the end? Yep. Okay.
Lost in Evanston year before there, 64-58. Both times we lost there in Evanston. Last two times we ranked number one and got court rushed. But before that loss in 2023, you got to go back to 2013-14 for the last time Northwestern beat Purdue, and that was on senior day in Mackey, 74-65.
Oh God!
Yeah, they're not one of my favorites for sure. No. Only time Purdue sees them this year, so glad I don't have to go up there.
I don't want to go up there. I mean, it sucks from I'd like to go to that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty solid this year.
Yeah, they are. They're scrappy.
We took down Illinois at home. At Welsh Ryan, I should say. So they've played some good teams.
So you think Purdue goes 2-0 this week? Start Big Ten.
I think they do.
Start full Big Ten play, I should say.
Yeah, I think they do.
I
think tomorrow probably I'm guessing a 78-67 type win. And then Sunday I could see a 65-60 win. I think it's going to be just these games always seem to be just an absolute brawl.
Average points 69. 69 is the average.
So I think
average points for Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, thank God they don't have Boo Booey anymore.
Yes,
they've got two guys who, with Barnheiser, which he's a Lafayette kid, so I'm sure he'll be extra juice for that. He's kind of their main guy now, and they've got the other guy. Who I kind of laughed at when they played Illinois. I said, this kid sucks. And then he went for 25 against Illinois. Martelli, is that his name?
That sounds right. I'm not familiar with the roster this year.
Something like that. But they're a good 1-2 punch there. So we'll definitely have our defense out there work cut out for them. But I think Purdue comes out 2-0 this week. Player of the game tomorrow. I'm gonna go with Cam Heide, hometown.
I was gonna do the same.
He's either gonna have a great game or he's gonna be it's gonna be too much. Yeah. And then Sunday, Trey Coffin. I think he works their bigs into a spin cycle.
I think Sunday's a Fletch game, about 18 or so. I don't know. I just
over under half of Collins grabbing Fletcher by the arm.
I will go under thinking that maybe he's learned from that, but who knows? Yeah. Who knows there? But no, Big Ten play is fun. This is when I start really diving more into college basketball and watching more outside of just Purdue. So far through December, this is the least amount of college basketball I've watched outside of Purdue. I don't know why. Just have not watched much. Even other Big Ten teams, I haven't watched much. So, but now, when NFL's winding down, I start really digging in. So, it's fun stuff. Well, before we switch gears and talk Purdue football, let's pay some bills, shall we? And talk about one of our great sponsors, and Mad Mush. Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by Mad Mushroom, who's been serving Boilermakers since 1993. They're located in the heart of West Lafayette, and they're well known as the home of the original cheese sticks. Whenever Evan, myself, or Andrew visit, we like to try out the latest pizza of the month while having an ice cold beer. And the pizza of the month, the first pizza of the month for 2025, is the Greek gyro pizza. Garlic and herb sauce, gyro meat, onions, black olives, and feta and mozzarella cheeses, finished with tomatoes and cucumbers in a, help me out here, Webby.
Tzatziki.
Thank you. Tzatziki sauce drizzle, starting at just $14. So next time you're in West Lafayette or Lafayette, stop in and tell them the Boiler Breakdown sent you for $5 off any order over $20. And any Boiler Breakdown listener or viewer can also use the coupon code BREAK5, that's all caps, BREAK5, to claim your discount online at madmushroom.com. Mad Mushroom, feed your head. And it's always a fun time to visit campus. Well, anytime it's fun to visit campus, but maybe you don't want to go when there's so many students around because it can be kind of chaotic. So this time of year is definitely a good time to go when students are on break. So if you're in town for the ball game over the weekend, or maybe you're in town with your kids who are on winter break later this week, stop on in. Can't go wrong with anything, whether it's pizza, grinders, wings, pasta, and of course cheese sticks. Can't go wrong. So stop in, enjoy yourself some Mad Mush. Yes, I feel like we have a lot to discuss on the Purdue football front. Since the last time we did a podcast, we know more Boilermakers that have been lost in the portal, some who have withdrawn from the portal, some that Purdue have got in the portal, and we know a whole abundance of staff that Purdue has got. So I don't even know where to start here, but I guess one big part should be the quarterback position. Purdue's got not one, but two signature callers through the portal, and lost Ryan Brown to North Carolina.
And Marcus Davila.
Yes, to
Nebraska.
Yep. So we will probably see him at some point in the next 3 years. I know we don't play him next year. But the main, well, they'll compete for the job, but I think if I had to guess, the guy who will be taking snaps against Southern Illinois in the home opener next year will be Malachi Singleton. He's coming to Purdue from Arkansas, 3 years of eligibility remaining. He did play for them as a redshirt freshman a little bit, mostly in the upset home win against Tennessee, which I watched that game, and I remember watching him come in. I'm like, this kid's kind of a dog for a backup. So he's definitely a dual threat, 225 pounds, 6'1". So yeah, I'm excited about him. I mean, it's anytime you can get a quarterback that's from an SEC school, I think you got to be a little excited.
Yeah. And I like the fact he's dual threat. It seems like that's kind of the route that the staff wants to go, is having a guy who can do both. And like you said, I think it's only if the guy who can run but can't, who has the ability to run but does he actually run. I think Malachi has shown that he's not afraid to tuck it and go. And we saw it with Brown, which was kind of a bummer to see him go. The guy, when he took it, he committed to it and was going. Was not afraid to take a hit. But I think kind of Malachi's kind of in that same mold, but yeah, not a whole lot of tape on him, but what I have seen, I liked. It sounded like, just from reading Twitter and opposing message boards, that Arkansas fans were not happy to see him go, which is always a good sign. It's never usually a good sign when the consensus is they're happy to see him go. A lot of people thought that he might have competed for the starting job next year down there, so it's obviously encouraging, but we'll see. Obviously, I think. We'll just kind of see how is he coming in the spring, or do we know if he's coming in the spring, or is he coming in the summer? I
guess I just assumed if you're going to try to be starting quarterback, he's probably coming in the spring.
Right.
So that would be my assumption, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's exciting. Then the other kid is from, UCF.
UCF, EJ Colson, who's 6'1", 200 pounds. He has 4 years of eligibility remaining, and he got to UCF at only age 17.
Yeah, so he's young.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Malachi is probably the guy at least getting the nod to start, but we'll see. Both guys are obviously athletic. But I guess we'll see. There's a lot of question marks, that's for sure. Yeah,
and looking at a lot of the commits, whether the high school kid or a UNLV original commit that flipped or through the portal, I think Barry Odom definitely wants to run the football. I think it's pretty evident he wants to run the football. And I'm all right with that. I still think you can pass a bunch, but run first to set up the pass, so to speak. But a lot of these guys, I mean, I'm looking here. Hank Purvis, 6'5", 330. O lineman. Mason Vigari, 6'4", 305 O lineman. Got linebacker Alex Sanford Jr. from Arkansas, 6'1", 225. Let's see here. Carson Dean, 6'4", 234, linebacker. Christian Moore, 6'3", 240, tight end / fullback from UNLV.
There's that one guy who's like 290 as a tight end.
6'8", 290, yeah. Jalen St. John, I'm excited about him. He should be the left tackle. He's 6'5", 330, and he was a second-team All-Mountain West out there as UNLV's left tackle. And the class isn't done yet. I mean, they've been hosting a lot of guys. The portal's shut till April, but people who are already in the portal can sign and commit.
It's a big weekend. Starting today, I think they got guys here today through the 3rd. So hopefully we'll see a few more in the next couple of days. Hopefully pop up. Yeah, we need a lot.
Oh, need a lot. I mean, especially defensive back and wide receiver. It was nice to see Breedlove come out of the portal, and I mean, he was Purdue's interceptions leader this past season, and one of the faster guys on the team. So he's back.
Yeah.
So he and Smiley Bradford are two of them, maybe the only remaining ones. The wide receiver room, you're pretty bare. I mean, you got Nyland Morissette, a Branch, and Jaden Dixon-Veal are your 3 remaining wide receivers right now.
Cam Brown, is that who it is? This UCLA kid? Did he go in the portal?
He must have. I must have missed that, but he must have. So, but I know Rigby, Leland Smith, CJ Smith, Tibbs, most of them have found homes. Edrin, some have been kind of head scratching, but hey, I'm not making a decision. Looking at Steph, Cornell Ford is assistant head coach, that's wide receivers coach. You got Vance Weiss, who's going to be a fan favorite, I think.
Yeah.
O-line coach. You got James Shabest as the special teams coordinator, which anybody watched.
Favorite.
Anybody watched UNLV's bowl game, the beautiful fake punt he ran.
Yeah.
Mike Schur is the defense coordinator / linebackers coach, and he's younger than Evan and I.
Love it.
Charles Clark, defensive backs coach. Let's see here. Darwin Hinshaw is quarterbacks coach coming from UCF, so brought quarterback with him. Jake Trump, defensive ends, comes from Arkansas, as does Kelvin Green, defensive line. Josh Henson, offensive coordinator / tight ends, comes from USC, where he was the offensive coordinator out there. Did not call the plays as Lincoln Riley does, but still, even if you don't call the plays, if you're OC, you're involved in the game plan. So,
100%, yeah.
And then, of course, kept Lamar Conrad, running back coach, on staff. He was the only coach kept in that same position from the previous staff. And I think that was great news for Devin Mockabee. And, of course,
probably the most important person to keep on staff was him. Because that meant keeping Mockabee. Yeah.
And it sounds like Jason Simmons is still on staff, but in a different role instead of an offensive analyst. He's more of a kind of a director of recruiting, maybe especially in the state of Indiana, which I think will be a good fit because
huge,
like he knows pretty much every head coach and AD in the state. So that doesn't hurt. So excited about the staff. I mean, I don't know a ton about a lot of them, just know what I've read about them. But one thing they have substantially over Ryan Walter's staff is experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vance Weiss has been coaching for
35
years. It's
he looks like an OL coach.
Yeah. It's Yeah, that's the big thing is we just, the guys collectively, have a ton of experience. So that, obviously is better than what we've seen in the last couple of years. So it's nice to see that. And obviously we want to see that turn to results on the field. But I like,
Right.
guys who have been, especially some of the guys who have been together. What is it? And it seems like Odom's like a lot of the guys he's got, like he's coached with or worked with in some capacity. It wasn't, just he knows somebody who knows somebody. It's like they've actually like interacted with each other and
Right.
been on staffs previously with each other. So that's always nice.
Right. Looking at the schedule next year, I'm trying not to jump ahead too much, but I misspoke earlier. I said Southern Illinois. Purdue actually starts with Ball State on August 30th. I got that switched around. And then they host Southern Illinois September 6th, USC September 13th, at Notre Dame September 20th, Illinois at home October 4th, at Minnesota October 11th, at Northwestern October 18th, Rutgers at home October 25th, at Michigan November 1st, at home against Ohio State November 8th, at Washington and New DC Ryan Walters on November 15th, and then host Indiana November 29th.
Not the easiest.
No, maybe a little more than this year, but still, yeah, still tough. But, and I don't know if we mentioned, I know last time we did a pod, we mentioned Dylan Thieneman going to Oregon, but since then we've lost Max Clare to Ohio State, Will Helt to Clemson, Cole Brevard to Texas. So definitely some key starters there. And I believe Devin Mockbee is the only starter that's going to be back on offense.
That's insane.
And defense, there's not many. There's not many. So,
I mean, I go back and forth. It's like, when we see some of these guys come back or see some of these guys leave, it's like, are we bummed that they leave? It's like, again, we went 1-11 and it wasn't a close 1-11. Like, should we really been, I guess more, it's like at this point, I just want bodies. And hopefully maybe these guys that, they had some talent, maybe just with better coaching. Cause that's what just baffles me with some of these guys that just like, we thought we had talent, but we just wasn't showing. So it's like, is it on them from not putting extra reps? Is it on the coaching from just not coaching correctly? I don't know. Like, is it I feel like more and more hearing about like practices just weren't much of anything. Like, were they actually like practicing, or was it more just kind of like walkthroughs? And that's, could be the reason why we saw 8 billion missed tackles. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but I go back and forth. Like when we get a guy coming back, like, hey, is it good he's coming back, or is it like, do we want him back? But it's at the same time, it's like, well, he's a body, so it's better than nothing.
Oh, I think we could see up to 40 newcomers on Purdue's roster.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with Indiana. I mean, he brought like 13 people from James Madison with him.
And 10 of them started.
Yeah, so we could see something pretty similar from UNLV. So,
yep, wouldn't shock me. So. Hey, I got my faith in Coach Odom. Why not? I mean, the brass hired him for a reason. Yeah, and just got to be patient. Next year's still probably not going to be pretty, but it really can't be worse unless they go 0-12. So
yeah.
And John Hawks here on YouTube earlier said QB is good. Now the rest of the team, we need everything, and that's what we've kind of been going over. Yeah, there's a lot of positions and needs for sure. So.
And I'm curious to see guys like George Burren, like see him kind of, hopefully emerge. The tight end spot. And I think he was kind of banged up a little bit this year, but guys like Joey Tanona, like I don't know if the line like has a kid was went to Notre Dame out of high school, and then obviously had a lot of unfortunate things happen that kind of kept him out of football, but hopefully he could be solid on the line. We'll kind of see. I guess out of the guys who left the high calorie, which ones were you the most disappointed?
Max Clare, I was most disappointed because I love having a good tight end. Not to say George won't be, but I thought Claire's definitely a future NFL tight end.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed he went not only in the Big Ten, but somebody we're going to play at home next year. And somebody would probably utilize him really well. But it sounds like he got a 7-figure NIL deal. That's hard to compete with.
Yeah.
Dylan, I mean, I'm disappointed. I wasn't shocked at all by him leaving. And I was really hoping the hometown, in-state ties of Will Helt would keep him around, but went to Clemson. So, But a lot of the others, and I think honestly, another one on offense I was a little bummed was Jamal
Yeah.
Edrin. Even though he
Yeah.
was banged up and he had to worry a lot if he could go or not. And I know he had a brutal drop against Michigan State, but I thought he could easily be the number one wide receiver for next year. And to go to it wasn't only him leaving, but where he ended up at Virginia. I feel like that's a lateral move at best. So
Yeah.
and that's what's head scratching me. Some of these guys like a Cole Beasley on defense, who was pretty highly recruited out of high school, then goes to Mac school in Miami, Ohio. I mean, maybe he's getting paid a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know what these kids' goals and intentions and ambitions are, but some of these moves are lateral to, if not a drop down, as far as okay, well, we're 1-11. I get that, but as far as like
the conference standpoint, like
conference being on TV, type of the program, etc. So
and I wonder how much is like that, or I also wonder how much is like was Odom like no, like
that could be too.
Like, but that could be we don't know. Like I wonder about the guy like CJ Smith or who was the defensive back?
Nyland Green.
Like did they come?
I forgot
back,
he even entered the portal, to be honest.
Enter the portal in September, we wouldn't have known.
I'm glad Morissette and Madden stayed, because out of the 4 Georgia kids, I thought they could be the hard. And Madden got hurt, I think, the Oregon State game, so we only saw 3 games out of him. And I thought Morissette, he had the unfortunate out of bounds play in the back of the end zone against Penn State, but I thought he gave it his all. So,
I wonder if like some of those guys like tried to re-up their NIL deal, and Odom's just like, what? Like, what?
I'll catch you in 2 years.
It's like. So I do wonder how much of it is that, because some of these guys make some interesting moves, especially going on their second or third school. It's like it's interesting, but how much of that was them, how much of it was them being kind of, as we do in college football 25, is encouraged to leave.
Except if you're me, you don't recruit well enough, don't have a full roster. But that's a story for another day. So. Any other final thoughts or things you want to talk about on the basketball side or football side before we wrap up our first pod of 2025?
This is our New Year's show, so I guess I know the answer, but what was some of your favorite moments of 2024 from a Purdue standpoint, or like favorite, or like just like surprising, good or bad? Either one.
No, of course the whole basketball season was a joy, but if I got to pick out a few moments, like Elite Eight game versus Tennessee. I mean, I know going to the national championship was great. Don't get me wrong, even though we lost to Connecticut and beating NC State in Final Four was awesome. But just being able to be at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit and watch Purdue do something they hadn't done in 44 years over against a pretty high caliber opponent in Tennessee, and just the way that game was back and forth, it was hard to top. I mean, and then the next time Purdue makes Final Four, it'll be great, but it definitely won't be as special, assuming it doesn't take another 44 years. But next time we just got to win the damn thing.
I guess, was there a moment that you remember where you're like, this is happening? I mean, I remember back in Louisville in 2019 of like having the feeling when we got the rebound, when Klein got the rebound, of like, oh my God, this is happening, or is this happening? I was definitely more reserved this time around. But was there a moment, whether it was Lance's 3, Edie's block, was there like, this is like, it's happening?
It wasn't Lance's 3, even though it was, because there was still a little over 2 minutes left. Edie's block made it more realistic, I thought, but it probably wasn't until Zach made another free throw or two to where I'm like, okay, like it's happening.
Yeah, Lance's 3, I remember thinking like, this is like, we can do this. Like, this is like it's like, this is gonna, like, this could happen. Like, because that was huge. And then when Zach blocked it, I was like, oh my God, I think this is actually gonna happen. So another one for me was one was just kind of watching Purdue in the Final Four. Obviously, I know we didn't get a chance to go, but watching it on TV was cool. Just seeing them on that stage, literally in a football stadium, and then the introductions of the national championship game was so cool, just because of like growing up watching teams, thinking like how cool would that be to see Purdue on that stage, and being able to see that introduction was awesome. But any others outside of Elite Eight from that tournament, or just any other games that stood out? I mean, Zach's 3 was huge, but I was at Mackey for that. That was electric. Whoop. Did I freeze? Did you freeze? Nope, we back.
Yeah, I think I know I lost connection. I don't
So if it
know.
was me, or so if it was me, then we definitely just have a couple minutes. We have a couple of
I
good
think
minutes
it
of
was.
dead
I
air.
think it was. I think I lost connection. So
Okay.
I don't know. But now, because my wife, I think, popped up right when you were talking, and then both of us went out on my end. So
Okay, so
gotta love
it'll be a nice
Wi-Fi.
little. Might have to edit that part.
Yeah,
'Cause there's
a little editing. Yeah.
I'd ask, outside of the Elite Eight were there any games that stood out to you? Or just moments, I guess. I said for me, like Zach's 3 and Mackey against IU.
Yeah.
Like that
That's
was
an easy
electric.
one. Illinois game at
Oh
Illinois.
yeah.
Braden doing the ice in the veins, just that win
They
because
hit the 3.
Illinois wanted it so much.
Yeah.
God, that was a hostile environment. Man, trying to think. Non-conference last year.
It wasn't a whole. I mean, we didn't have any non-conference in 2024 technically because it was already Big Ten season. What, did I lose Tanner again? I lost him again. I know for me, assuming that I'm not the one. Oh, Elijah, you're back. I got you back.
I'm gonna hop out and hop back in. So
okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll so we're about wrapped up here, but I think for me, a top moment, that Gonzaga game in the Sweet 16 was huge. Just from because I did not expect. I know Purdue obviously beat them in Maui, but I did not expect the dominance that Purdue had in that game, where just like you could just tell that team was on a mission, and to kind of just cruise the way they did in such a high stakes game. I'm talking about another one was the Gonzaga Sweet 16 game, and how like I know we beat them in Maui, but the fact that they just like dominated them in such a high stakes thing, like I think that was probably just the overarching theme of last year, just like how driven that team was,
right?
And how just like when it was business, like no one could beat them.
Right.
Well, one team could, but it was just that thing. I was just so the most impressive thing was just like how that team just went about just dominating so many teams.
Yeah, and I know you were talking about good and bad stuff. Football, there was no good outside the first week, the blowout shutout win over Indiana State. I mean, you had your moments of excitement at times there in Illinois in the ferocious comeback that fell short in overtime, but it was just more being pissed off all the time. And
I said that Notre Dame was like surprising in a bad way. It was just like I could not believe how like quickly that just went off the rails.
And that's a good way to put the whole season and the whole state of the program, just how fast everything crumbled.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable still to talk about. But Purdue football or Purdue sports in 2024 is very historic. More good than bad, but it's historic for both reasons.
Ends of the spectrum. Yeah, on both ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
Yep. So, and we'll see what 2025 brings. Hopefully, a lot more very memorable moments for sure.
Any hot take predictions for Purdue sports in 2025?
I'm not ready to say Purdue's gonna make a bowl. I'm not. Don't even know what the whole roster looks like yet. I think Purdue basketball makes it at least to the Sweet 16.
I was gonna say I think this team's a second weekend team. I'll say that. I'm not sure.
I mean, there are times, there's little glimpses at times, like maybe they're more of a round of 32 team than a Sweet 16 team.
I think this team's seed is anywhere from a 4 to like a 9 right now.
Yeah.
I think that's depending on the day.
That's good.
So
good
I think,
way to
yeah.
But outside of football and basketball, I just don't know enough about the other sports right now and the state of the other sports to make a real bold prediction on other behalf of the other ones. But so. Well, while we wrap it up, you let everybody know what they can do with some of their Christmas money they got.
Absolutely. Head on over to the shop, whether you're in the Indianapolis area or shopping online. The shop's been making hometown apparel since 2011. Started out in garage. Now they've grown to 3 retail locations. They're boiler owned. They've got one in Carmel, one in Broad Ripple, one in downtown Indy. Check them out. Or if you've got some extra funds on your card, you want to go shop online, go to shopindy.com, use promo code breakdown. You'll get 25% off your entire order. I guess this is a new one for me. The shirt's not new, but it's new for me. I bought it, like I said, right before Christmas. If you see if I can find the shirt that I got for Christmas, I'm gonna scroll down. So that sweatshirt's new. I got this basketball script hoodie. It is almost like, it's not dry fit, but it's kind of like that type of material, kind of stretchy. I did not expect that. It's incredibly comfortable. I wore it to the game on Sunday. I was a little worried that it might be a little too warm and Mackie, but I was feeling cool and looking good.
It looks like they are limited in sizes in a few shirts now.
And usually they get back in stock pretty decently, especially if it's a newer item. So yeah, check them out. Great stuff, whether it's Purdue or any other Indiana universities. They've got
that's cool.
Yeah, I like the beanies. They got a lot of awesome stuff. Like I said, I got my wife and sister, who are both big Taylor Swift fans, Indies Era Tour ornaments, like just something little that they had that was pretty cool. They got Ball State, Butler, DePaul, Indiana State, IU, Indy, Ohio State, which is the only non-Indiana school, Purdue and Wabash. So they got a lot covered.
Yep. Blue and gold, horseshoe, Pacers and
Colts.
Indy women's basketball, Fever. Indy 500, Indiana Motor Speedway, Cincy baseball, Reds. Indy baseball, Indianapolis Indians. Vintage hockey, Indy 11. Those are really cool lines. And they got athlete lines too. Razor Shines, Larry Bird, Bob Knight, Gene Cady, AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti, Rick Mears, Scott McLaughlin, Connor Daly. So, yeah, the racing season will be here before you know it for all the race fans out there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For sure. But, Webby, well, let's once again, happy New Year to yourself and everybody out there listening and watching. And thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been listening and watching our podcast throughout 2024. We were blessed to have our best year to date for a podcast. Looking forward to making 2025 even a bigger and better year. And let's start it off with Boiler Up, Hammer Down, beat the Gophers and the Wildcats.
Boiler Up.